Inclusive, sustainable and equitable socio-economic growth and development. It will also inspire collective efforts towards further progress at all levels to achieve the sustainable development goals. That is the conversation that we are having this morning, and with me to my near left, I'm joined by Mutuma Kanata, who is Chief Executive Officer, the Public Benefits Organizations Regulatory Authority. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And it's nice to see you. The last time we were talking about preventing financial crimes in NGOs.
Yes, last time we were here.
Yeah.
I'm very pleased to be invited again to come and join KTN. And I'm very happy.
Thank you.
And I want to thank our viewers for being there for us. Thank you very much.
All right. Now, we are also joined by Gladys Mwende, who is Chief Program Officer, Shining Hope for Communities. That is a SHOFCO. Thank you so much for sparing time with us here on KTN.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Karibu. Now, let us get into it. Mutuma, perhaps the change of the name from the NGO Coordinating Board to the Public Benefit Organizations Regulatory Authority. What comes with it? Has anything changed since, Kithure Kindiki announced the change?
Thank you very much for that question. As you are aware, last month on 10th, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, Professor Kithure Kindiki, gazetted the Public Benefit Organization Act. That is immediately after the President addressed the Gigiri CSO conference, UN conference, and they committed to the conference and to Kenyans that is going to operationalize that act. And by virtue of that gazettement, the minister indicated that the day for commencement was supposed to be 14th May 2024. With that change, everything has to change. It means now we are no longer NGO Coordination Board. We are Public Benefit Organization Regulatory Authority. However, our mandate also has been expanded in terms of what we are supposed to do. The Act also provides a more freer environment for public benefit organizations. It provides, it creates a tribunal whereby the public benefit organizations can take their issues if they are not registered, if they have differences or they are not happy with the services or among themselves. They can always go to the tribunal, which is supposed to be constituted by the Chief Justice. Thirdly, there is also a lot of tax incentives for the sector, for the NGO, for non-public benefit organizations. And generally, it really provides a better legal framework for the operation of public benefit organizations in Kenya. Yes.
So when you talk about the changes, what is the significance, perhaps, of the PBO Act 2013? What is the significance to date?
In terms of where we are, immediately after the gazettement and the commencement date, it means now we are operating as Public Benefit Organization Regulatory Authority. From very basic things, the staff who are working for the NGO Coordination Board have transited to the staff of Public Benefit Organization Regulatory Authority. NGOs that were registered under the old Act, they have been given 1 year to transit to Public Benefit Organization. And what is the process, perhaps, of an NGO that wants to? Yes, and that's why we are, at the moment, what we are doing, we are trying to develop regulations that will guide that process, how NGOs will transit to PBOs. And in the next 2 months, we will have those regulations in place. It is a consultative process. We want to engage, to consult the sector players, so that they can give their inputs in terms of those processes. At the moment, we are operating with the regulations that were created under the old legal regime, NGO Coordination Act. But now, we are developing new regulations, so that now, NGOs can know how the process of transiting, what they need to apply. But what we want to assure those who are registered with us, the process will be simple because we have a lot of information for them. So it's just a matter of simple administrative process. But that one has to be gazetted so that it can become a legal process. Okay. Yes.
Gladys, before we talk to us about how this particular NGO is, the Act actually affects NGOs, perhaps you can talk to us about SHOFCO. What is it and how effective is it?
Okay, thank you so much. Just briefly, SHOFCO is a national NGO, and we normally define ourselves as a grassroots organization. The grassroots part is very key to SHOFCO because SHOFCO was started by someone who was born and raised in informal settlements in Kenya, in Kibera, Dr. Kennedy Odede. And because of his experience, having lived in the conditions that were quite difficult as a young person, when he started SHOFCO, he wanted it to belong to the people. So this organization now, while we are, as we talk, we are in about 40 counties in Kenya. And we have just celebrated 20 years since the organization was formed. And SHOFCO runs a very integrated program, primarily addressing poverty challenges for communities who are living in informal settlements and other marginalized communities. In recent years, we've expanded not just in informal settlements, but to rural communities also. Key to this is actually bringing communities together to get a voice where they can actually articulate the priorities, not just challenges, but also the solutions that they have within their communities. So we run programs that are first empowering communities in terms of their voice, also basic services such as health. We run health facilities in informal settlements in Kibera and Madare, and also working very closely with government institutions where we roll out health services in partnership. We also have education. It's a key component of the work that SHOFCO does. We have 2 schools for girls because SHOFCO believes in building women leadership. So this is very futuristic because we want to have women take leadership in the country. So all the girls from informal settlements also have equal opportunity to any other child born elsewhere. So education is key. We also run community empowerment programs looking at financial inclusion. We have a SHOFCO circle where communities from anywhere can come, borrow, and also invest in sustainable livelihoods along the same area where we also support young women, young people to also become economically and socially empowered. We run programs a very effective community library network in several counties where we are also opening up our libraries to support children who are going to different schools that are not very well resourced.
Right. So can we say it's more of like an NGO as well?
It is an NGO, yes, because we're also registered with the NGO Act at the moment and also transitioning to the PBO regulatory authority. And again, the SHOFCO is compliant with the current NGO Act, but as Mr. Mutuma has indicated, the transition is also going to be relevant to SHOFCO.
Yes. Mr. Mutuma here said that he will also be sorting for NGOs to give their inputs in terms of the regulations that they're going to set in a few weeks to come. What are your thoughts on that you'll want them to be engraved into the PBO Act?
Very good. So as a member of the NGO sector, I think it's very important that we also understand the changes that are happening within the government. And this is important because that's where we take our regulations from. And it is going to also be very key as we roll out different programs within SHOFCO to be sure that we're also consistent and aligned with where the PBO Act is also coming from. So because it's also creating many opportunities for the NGO sector and generally the civil society organizations. So we see this as a very positive thing, and it's also equally important that members of the sector also participate, so that whatever is going to be coming out in terms of the policies, that we also have a say in that.
Okay. Back to you, Mr. Mutuma. What are the gaps in NGOs, and how do you envision that the new regulatory authority is going to fill in those gaps? What are the challenges and the gaps in it so far?
Thank you very much. In terms of gaps, if I look at the old Act and the new Act, there were quite a number of challenges. And the reason why the sector were pushing for this new act, which was passed in 2013. So it has taken 11 years for the act to be operationalized.
Yeah.
And that's why we are very happy with His Excellency the President and the Cabinet Secretary.
But why did it take long, though? Would you guys maybe know the reasons that were?
Well, I think they were trying to develop consensus between government and the sector.
Okay.
Within, there are some clauses there that maybe the government was not comfortable with. The sector also was pushing for it. But now there is consensus that, yes, let's pass this law. There are things that need to be amended. There are some clauses that are conflicting each other. There are some bits that are not clear, ambiguous, some sections that are ambiguous. I think there is consensus that, yes, these things are conflicting. There is some ambiguity. But let's operationalize it and work on those amendments. And part of our commitment that we have done is that in the next 1 year, we'll ensure that we have presented to Parliament an amendment bill for that law to be, for those sections to be either expunged or amended as per what the views that we get from the sector, and we build a consensus around that. I think that was one of the reasons why there was a delay in terms of the implementation of that particular act. Coming in terms of what were the gaps? I think one of the reasons that motivated the NGOs to push for this particular act was in terms of the question of service delivery. If they want to get services from the NGO board at that particular time, they wanted to get efficient services. They didn't want to get arbitrary services. And there are quite a number of clauses that defines how the services are supposed to be provided for. For example, under this new act, if you submit your documentation for registration, the law says that within 60 days, the organization, you should have registered, the authority should have registered that organization within 60 days. And if you don't register, then there is a tribunal that can make a decision that you are registered automatically. So now, there are those things. For example, if they want a back letter, sometimes it takes individual discretion to decide whether I should give this back letter to this organization or not. Now, the law is very clear in terms of service delivery. How long are you supposed to provide those services? And so it's a much better law in terms of looked from the citizens and looked from our constitution that provides and says that the public is at the center stage of any decisions that are making. They should be done for the public good. And the law, this particular law, provides for that. And it's within the principles of our new Constitution 2010. So when it was being enacted was immediately after 2010. So the principles that are there in that particular Constitution 2010, particularly Chapter 4 and also Chapter 10 that talks about national. So it's a very better law compared
to curbing financial crimes in NGOs, which is something major. Is the act now a bit strict to ensure that some of the NGOs that open to benefit themselves, out of the will of Kenyans? How is the new act ensuring that strict measures are in place to curb, financial crimes in NGOs? I'll start with you, then Marcel, tell us.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the new law gives the authority more powers in terms of enforcing compliance. The new law expects the organizations, the NGOs, the public benefit organizations to operate at a higher level in terms of compliance, in terms of transparency, and in terms of ensuring that they're operating within the law. At the moment, there are a lot of issues around terrorism financing, money laundering. Some people want to clean their money and bring the money to the country through NGOs.
Yes.
So, and part of the reasons, some of the things that were, when Kenya was clear listed early this year, was the issue about compliance with those laws. And therefore, this particular law really helps us to raise the bar. The other bit of it is the new law provides for creation of a federation, whereby the NGOs themselves can come together to form a federation, which is supposed to develop regulations and among themselves for purposes of self-regulations. Apart from ourselves now, the new law provides for a federation that ensures that they develop a code of conduct. They are able to, peer check. They are checking each other in terms of how they are transacting business. Also, the law provides for creation of forums. For example, if NGOs are operating within the health sector, they can come together and create a forum that is registered with us, and therefore they can be able to develop regulations among themselves to ensure they check each other. So it's a better law in terms of compliance, and for us, in terms of enforcement, it gives us more powers, and for us to ensure that they are compliant.
All right, perhaps Gladys, are there any clauses in this particular act that as an organization you feel needs to be amended? And what are some of the clauses that you feel this one, we need to have a more discussion on it? Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So in terms of the specific clauses that need amendment, I would say at the moment, not yet, because we are yet to still start engaging as stakeholders in reviewing and also drafting the laws to govern the sector through the PBO. But what I would say is, as Mr. Mutuma is saying, we as NGOs or civil society organizations have many points of regulation, because at the PBO level, we are actually being regulated at governance level. So that is really key, even not just at service and delivery, but governance, how we are constituted as organizations, the kinds of people who run these organizations, also in terms of their credibility to run the organizations, because it's for public good. Then there is also the regulation at the sector level, ministerial level, where organizations operating in the health sector, in education, they're also supposed to comply with the ministerial or that sector regulations. And that is why working with the government and also having different points of checks is really helpful for organizations to uphold the standard and the integrity that is required in the public sector.
All right, Mr. Mutuma, this year's theme, the NGO's week theme, as I said earlier, is building synergy for a sustainable future. Tell us why this theme. Why did you go for this theme?
I think one of the things that is coming up, and which is also part of the principles of our new act, is the question of partnership and collaboration. NGOs have faced a lot of challenges in terms of funding. People assume there is a lot of money in the NGOs, that once you register an NGO, you will start getting money. That money will rain like El Nino. Really, that's not the truth. People have to work hard to raise the resources. And sometimes where they get resources from, if it's, even from our sector report that we'll launch tomorrow, will indicate that most of it comes from Europe. Those countries now are funding less, like Kenya now, because now we are middle-level income countries. It means now they are giving us less money. They are focusing on poorer countries. And the NGOs now are struggling. Some of them are struggling. The ones that have been having programs across the country, they have to look for other ways. And therefore, this year's theme is trying to look at that. How do we develop those collaborations between the sector itself, the government, and the private sector? How do we ensure that we build sustainable resource base? We don't have to look externally. We can even look internally in terms of the corporates that we have. Like the banking sector is making a lot of money. Are they supporting the sector? You see the communication companies like Safaricom, they are making immense profits. How are they supporting SHOFCO? How are they supporting World Vision? So these are the kind of discussions that we want to build, to have, so that we create a sustainable future for the sector. So as NGOs do their work, as they complement government activities, then you're sure maybe in the next 5-10 years, we have a clear trajectory in terms of their programs and activities.
This year's objective is also taking stock of the significant role and contribution of the NGO sector to the economy, right?
Yes.
Perhaps you can talk to us about, you were talking about you don't have funding, but you also, you also have the objective of contributing to the economy. So how does that go hand in hand?
What I said in terms of funding is that there are challenges now. Raising money now takes a lot of efforts, takes a lot of energy. But we are not saying that the sector is not receiving funding. It is being supported. But we have to project in terms of the future, how are we going? Now that we have seen indications that they are saying, yes, Kenya has become a middle-level income country. That's how we have been classified. So you people, we will give you less money. But at the moment, I can assure you, the sector has been doing very well. We have seen the increase in terms of, for the last, let's say, 2 years, the amount of money that came to the sector was around 138 billion. The other year, it was around 160 million. And this year, the sector report you are launching tomorrow will be much more. I don't want to give the figures. It will be a surprise. I want people to watch tomorrow at KTN around from 10 to 11.
So the numbers might shock us.
Yes.
Okay. They'll sit tuned to KTN.
Yes, they tune on to KTN tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And we will be able to give new figures. And I can tell you the sector is doing well. We are proud of what the NGOs are doing in the country, the kind of efforts they're creating, how they are complementing government, how they are supporting government programs, how they are supporting individuals, their communities. You know, those poor children who could not go to school, now they are going to school. Those kids who could be more nourished, they are getting something to, you know, they are getting food, so that at least even their IQ develops like a normal kid. So these are the kind of intervention. In the health sector, they are in places that you don't expect them, people to have hospitals. They are working there. So they are doing tremendous work. And this is what we want to celebrate from this week, starting today.
Okay.
Yes.
Gladys, perhaps as we almost come to an end, you can talk to us about why NGOs right now are celebrating this particular act that has been fast-tracked by the administration of President William Ruto, its significant, its objectives, as we almost close.
Thank you so much. So, it's a very important week for the NGOs because the NGOs have been a really key partner to the government. And we know that as the theme of the week says, we are really looking to synergize partnerships and also to harness what every contributor and every partner is able to do, from the NGOs, the private sector, the government, etc. And we are not forgetting also the people themselves, the communities, because they're the ones that drive any development that we are doing. So we also put them at the center of this conversation. So we really want to thank President Ruto for recognizing the role of NGOs, because we have journeyed together, and I think for many of us who remember back in the years before we started with, you know, actively engaging in the Act, the NGO Act, there were many challenges, but I think we have come a long way in streamlining the business of development in the country, and we see that as a massive opportunity for us to really cause positive and sustainable change for our people. Yes.
All right. Mr. Mutuma as well, your parting shot as we almost wind up.
First of all, thank you for inviting us. What we want to assure the sector is that as we implement the new Act, we walk the journey together. The Act requires us to work collaboratively with the sector and the government. So we will journey together in terms of coming up with the regulations, in terms of doing amendments, and the overall implementation of the Act. So we want to assure the sector that we are committed in journeying together and respecting the principles under our Constitution 2010. Yeah.
Remind our viewers about the shock tomorrow.
Yes.
News.
What I want to assure them, tomorrow we are at KICC, Kenyatta International Convention Center, where we are launching our sector report, launching our NGO week, and there will be exhibitions from tomorrow for the next 3 days. Various NGOs are doing exhibitions, including SHOFCO. We are very grateful that you'll be there for the next 3 days. At the moment, already they have set the tents. I want to invite the public to come and see what NGOs are doing. Let them come and network with those NGOs and the leadership they are in. There is a lot to learn. Come and interest yourself and see, for young people, if this is the area that you want to work, come and see the kind of work they are doing, and appreciate, because we are celebrating the sector. Yes. They are doing immense work. So I just want to request our viewers tomorrow, come to KICC. If you'll not be able to travel to Nairobi, just tune in at KTN.
Yes. KTN News is a station tomorrow. Remember, it's NGO's Week 2024 launch of the sector report 2022-2023. Mr. Mutuma said, expect, I can't even say, you expect, you know, the best.
The very best.
The very best.
The very best.
And shocking numbers.
Shocking figures.
Shocking figures tomorrow. Only on KTN News. Please tune in for that. Remember, this year's theme is building synergy for a sustainable future. Thank you so much, lady and gent, for joining us. That was Mutuman Kanata, CEO, Public Benefit Organizations Regulatory Authority, and Gladys Wende, Chief Program Officer, Shining Hope for Communities. Thank you so much for gracing our studios.